Carries.
We have local law introductory number 5 to abolish the office of elected county treasurer and to create and assign all the duties and responsibilities of that office to a new appointed officer, the director of finance. And the resolution then is to set the public hearing for that. Resolution 288 is to fix the public hearing date for that proposed local law for September 18th at 5 p.m.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just give a procedural history on this. The municipal home rule law sets forth that a mandatory referendum would have to be held after a local law gets adopted or certainly approved by a board, and then it has to be no less than 60 days after the adoption. So just so the board understands, this resolution is to set the public hearing. You're not voting on the actual introductory law yet. That would be at on the date of the public hearing. This resolution has it set for September 18th because we believed that we would have to have something into the Board of Elections by October 1st to put it on the ballot for the general election. According to the municipal home rule law, that we don't have enough time to do that, so the vote could not be at the general election. It would have to be at a special election between now and probably next May if you wanted to take effect before somebody started to run for the office if it were voted down. So the public hearing actually could be held at the next general meeting, our regular monthly meeting, which would be October 2nd. So one thing that could be done is that you could amend this to have that public hearing on October 2nd. But right now you can have discussion on whether or not you want to even set the public hearing. And if you do, I would recommend that we set it for October 2nd and not have this other date where you have to come in for a special hearing.
So do we want to start with discussion on this, or does somebody want to make a motion to amend it?
I guess I have a question. What caused this event to take place?
One of the things we talked at HR is that, I'll give you an example, Brian. As of right now, we know of no one within Patty's department that wants to run for this position as of right now. Brian Mosier could run for this. If it's a popularity vote or people feel that I'm qualified to do it, I get in there, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. So that's what we're up against. And then I'm not saying that Patty she's the only one I work with, and Patty has done an outstanding job. She really has. And I'm sure that the past county legislators or the treasurers have. But the funding streams are coming in 100 different ways now. I just think that this is a far more complicated position than it was 35, 40 years ago. And I'm not doing this. I know the newspaper, or there's been comments out there, not from the newspaper, but on different comments made that we want control. If we want to control, we have control now. We have a Republican majority here, and we have a Republican treasurer. We don't operate like that. Actually, if people are worried about that, we'd have less control if you had someone appointed, because it's a biased opinion that's sitting there. It's not an elected political position. So that's my feelings on it, and we've discussed that. Andrea had a good point. None of us in our HR committee felt that didn't know if we wanted to take it out of the voters' hands. But also the voters don't know what we're dealing with either, as far as the funding and the complicating procedures and everything that Patty has to do. So And I just use me for an example. You wouldn't want me in there for treasurer, but if I got elected, you're stuck with me. All I'm gonna do is sit in there and sign checks.
Yeah, then we end up having to hire a director of finance.
Then you're gonna have to hire someone that
Then we have
oversees it. And
right.
her I mean, Patty's
$100,000.
office could definitely steer us the right way if you have someone in there, I'm sure. But do we, is that something that we wanna take a chance at? That's my feeling, so. And that's the only reason, and we don't have a choice. The public gets to vote on it, so they have the ultimate choice, so. If the voters of Lewis County don't want it and think that we're nuts for bringing it forward, if we do, then that's fine, I'm okay with that. We will work with with whoever we end up with in the office, and we could end up with an outstanding person, but we live in this world of what if. What if we don't end up with that person that knows?
Well, I mean, couldn't we come up with some ideas of the qualifications a person's got to have to
I don't believe so. The only one I think by public law, state law, or even government law that you can do that with is the DA.
I did find out, no, you can do it with a comptroller position.
A comptroller position.
Right,
Which is like a director of finance.
Which is like a director of finance, but the comptroller can be an elected position. So that would satisfy everybody.
Okay, now that's the first, I mean, we haven't discussed that.
That would satisfy everybody. It would be an elected position, but they'd actually have to have the qualifications to do the job, just like the DA would have to. Erie County's got it, or, other counties have already done this.
Don't we have to be a certain type of government to do that? Don't
Those
we have to be a charter government to do that, or not?
We can do it, it's just that we are a non-charter county.
Right.
So we would be subject to bringing a mandatory referendum to change something like that.
Okay, all right.
But it'd still be in the public's hands.
Yes.
Right.
But they would the person would have to qualify for the job, just like the DA. DA has to be a lawyer, So.
No, it still would be.
Oh,
It'd be elected.
It still would be. It's just that we could set, but it sounds of what Greg's saying,
You have to
we'd
have
be
it.
able
You
to
have
set
to-
requirements,
Yep.
which,
You have to
I like that, I mean, that's.
Well, I think we got a lot of questions and we need more discussion. What Greg mentioned, that may be a win-win for both sides. We get someone in there, we know it's gonna be doing the job, and the taxpayers still get the vote. But, I think I would like to see more information on the comptroller and what we have to do there before we start down the road. And I guess the other question is that, it's not that we want to control, but, and I do trust the taxpayers and stuff like that, but, at least have this open discussion, what our concerns are. I mean, if they still want to vote it down, whether it's a comptroller or whether it's us appointing someone in-house, that we've had the discussion and they have a full understanding why we have our concerns.
See, I think the comptroller, they still elect that person, so that gives the voters, so there really isn't any difference in what they're doing now, except there's qualifications. Because otherwise, if you just go with, you can't look at what we had previously, because Patty worked for the treasurer, she was deputy treasurer, she has vast experience. So did Vicky Roy worked for Dick Fowler, so she had all that experience. We have got nobody now that wants, Patty, what you do going on down there?
They saw what Patty went
They saw Patty going, I can't wait to get out of here.
And Patty brought 30-some years to the table.
Yeah, exactly, so that.
And she, did too. So.
And I think that's why we asked, if I speak right for the HR, we just wanted this to come to this position so we can talk about it. I think this is a discussion we all needed to have, and it was a way to move forward. Because we have so many resolutions in front of us, we tend to forget to discuss stuff that we might think that we want to discuss. So this is one way that we felt that at least this way here, we're sitting and we're talking about it. The public can hear what our concerns are, and we move forward. But ultimately, the public has a say in it. So,
would the comptroller position come up for public vote?
as opposed to a treasurer position? I guess is that the first
Okay.
step?
Yes, I think Joe said that's the referendum.
We still have to, yeah, we
We'd have
still have to
to-
propose
We would
it.
still
Okay,
have-
so
And then
the public would vote,
Vote
to
to-
flip,
yeah.
change it to a comptroller.
Comptroller, and then they
Right.
vote who the comptroller is.
Right.
I think it stands a better chance of
Yeah.
going out
Oh,
like
yeah.
that than
Right
it does
now.
I do
disappointing.
too.
Cause I think it was down Blake's Lord.
You'd have somebody that had some qualifications, actually.
So the underlying concern is to ensure that someone that runs for this position, if it stays elected, has the proper qualifications to do the job. So if we move forward with this first scenario, the question to the voters would be, do you want to run the risk of having to hire a fiscal officer in the event that the person that wins the election is unable to or unqualified to fulfill the duties? That would be an additional cost to the taxpayers. If we want to move forward with that, we would vote to pass this, fixing the public hearing date, or we can take it back to committee for further discussion on moving forward with a comptroller position that puts qualifications on the person that's running for election.
I think that's what
I think that's
where we should go.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can, I would also like to research that a little bit further about the elected controller and make sure for our non-charter county that we can do that.
So you want to table this public hearing resolution and send it back to committee for further investigation?
You need a motion?
I move for that.
Moved by Randy to table it, second by Ron. Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's, resolution's tabled.
The only other thing, regardless of where we end up, it's gonna require a referendum.
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a vote either way.
Proposing Lewis County Building and Codes Department